Welcome to our latest exhibition, Examining Pictures, which features paintings by Nick Holmes, and here he talks about his work.
Nick, tell us what brought you into the career of being an artist, or your interest in art. Where did it start?
It was right from primary school years. It was the only thing really that made any sense to me and I was any good at.
Did you go to art college after school?
Yes, I went to Winchester School of Art.
Right.
That was the early 60s.
Yeah. Interesting time to be doing
art
then.
Yeah. Yes, it was, yeah. Winchester at that time was pretty conventional, but of course pop art was happening in America at the time, and I think, from memory, more or less made up the courses we went along. Right. The students did, rather.
Right. Well, that seemed to be the thing in the 60s.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, great time.
So, who do you think was an influence on you at that time in your life?
Oh, well, of course there was Picasso. I can remember going to a Picasso exhibition in London, which was overwhelming. But then there was also an exhibition by an American artist called Claes Oldenburg. And I can remember going to his exhibition, and he wasn't entirely a painter, and he wasn't entirely a sculptor, but he was something between the two. He'd take sections of the American flag and make them into three-dimensional objects using paper mache and a wire frame, that sort of thing. And he made a pair of giant gym shoes. Well, obviously they call them sneakers in America, don't they? So he made this enormous pair of sneakers that I particularly remember. And well, that was a great influence because it was a break away from painting, and I thought that was the direction to go in those days.
There's in some of the stories you've told me about your paintings, there's kind of an element of autobiography. There are references to sort of episodes in your life and so on. Why do you feel the need to put that into your paintings?
All the paintings are diaries in a way, or sort of it's an enormous autobiography that I'm making visually. I want to talk about the times I've lived through. So I'm not making statements about the universe and everything. I prefer to kind of make a universal message by talking about the times I'm living through.
And in a lot of your pictures, you have words, written parts of the picture, and also in the constructions.
Yes.
What's that all about?
Although it's difficult to talk about paintings, but if I put a word in it, it can explain the painting sometimes. But most often I'm using it as a barrier of a sort, so that the way we read and the way we read words and the way we read pictures is slightly different. It's very difficult to see both word and picture at the same time, and I put the word there in order to kind of make an obstruction between you and the picture, so that you're having to interpret what I've written at the same time as trying to read the picture.
You mentioned Picasso as an early influence, and you've got Picasso's chair in this exhibition as well.
Right, yes, that is a tribute. Yes, I'll often use other artists, bits of other artists' work in it and incorporate it into my own. Yes, the chair, that's a tribute to Picasso.
And Magritte's table, what's that one?
Yes, another tribute. Yes, like Magritte an awful lot. When I was teaching in the secondary sector, the government at one point asked us to introduce pupils to the history of art, to kind of introduce that, and so I found some reproductions and obviously found Magritte, and a child drew Magritte's one of Magritte's little rooms with that table in it. And I so like the interpretation by the child that I've used it ever since as a kind of table that stands in for every table in the world.
Oh, wonderful! That's great. We were talking just now about another picture of yours which you've sold called a mile in your shoes,
Yes, a mile in your shoes.
A mile in your shoes. And you were explaining that the image that you had, that the person who bought it liked, didn't have the finished painting on it.
Yes.
You'd added a bit later on.
Yes.
So my question is, how do you know when a painting is finished?
It's a very difficult process, and the painting for me is really only ever finished if someone buys it and takes it.
There's a lot of film references as well in your paintings.
Yes.
I mean, you reminded me
Yes.
with Lost in Translation.
Yeah.
But where does that come from? What's the point?
Well, I've always been, because it's a visual medium, I've always been interested in film. I find that I saw a lot of very important films in the early, probably the late 60s by this stage. I think probably at Goldsmith College when I was training to be a teacher. Several courses on film theory, which sort of introduced me to cultural theory and really a lot of interesting things. And, well, as a result of all that experience, I've always wanted to include some reference to film in the paintings, or a particular series of paintings. Yes, you've got Henderson, the Rain King, you're taking away. That is a book by Saul Bellow that I particularly like, and you'll find that I've cast John Wayne in the lead role. Interesting, he's wearing my jacket.
Right. A question I ask all our artists is, do you ever regret selling a painting, or do you feel sad at losing them, or are you happy to launch them?
No, I'm very happy if someone takes painting away. I like to feel that they've liked it enough to put it in their own homes. Yeah,
well, let's hope that our exhibition will find some new homes for some of your paintings. Thank you very much
indeed for organising it for me.
It's a real pleasure. Thanks a lot.
Okay.